Vannupatha. Welcome back, boys and girls. So, today we will be listening to another very beautiful story. So, are you guys ready for that? Okay, good. So, boys and girls, this is called Vannupatha Jataka. Again, I'm using my teacher's book to share this story with you all. So, in this story, this is about a boy, a young man who used to live in the city of Savatthi, the time when the Supreme Buddha was still alive. So, this boy, boys and girls, used to go to the Jataka monastery to listen to the Dhamma every day. So, what is Jataka monastery? Do you remember? Like in our previous story, we learned about how Jataka monastery was built by the Anatha Pindika, the wealthy merchant. Okay, so this boy would go to the monastery every day, Jetavana's monastery, every day to listen to the Dhamma. So while he was going to this Jetavana and listening to the Dhamma, he thought, I'm going to the Jetavana's monastery every day to listen to the Dhamma. And he had a very pleasant mind. And then he thought, if I'm going to continue to live in this lay life, I will not be able to realize this Dhamma. Like it's better if I could become a monk, and then I will have more opportunities to realize the Dhamma faster, right? So thinking this way, he went to the Supreme Buddha and asked for ordination. So out of compassion, the Supreme Buddha gave ordination. He ordained the young person. So like this young monk, the boy who got ordinated, he was practicing the Dhamma for 5 years, boys and girls. So he was a monk for 5 years. And then, so one day he thought maybe I should go to a forest so it'll be easier. It'll help me more to practice the Dhamma, realize the Dhamma diligently, like without delay. So thinking like this, he got permission from the Supreme Buddha and he went to a forest. So like this, he was dwelling in the forest for about 3 months trying to develop concentration, right? And so 3 months went past, but he could not get any concentration. He could not concentrate his mind, right? He was so sad. He was very upset because he was working very hard. Actually thought he was working very hard, but he could not develop any concentration. So he was so disappointed. He thought, okay, the Supreme Buddha, he recalled that the Supreme Buddha has preached about 4 people. How many people, boys and girls? 4 special people. So the first one, boys and girls, this person has fulfilled all his merit. So so soon as he hears the Dhamma, the teachings of the Supreme Buddha, he realizes the Dhamma, he understands it, and then he attained enlightenment. The second one, the second person, boys and girls, he needs to listen to Dhamma in detail. So when he hears the Dhamma in detail, he realizes, he understands it, and he attains enlightenment. The third one, boys and girls, this person, he needs to listen to Dhamma over and over again. And at the same time, he needs to make efforts over and over and over again. But eventually, this person will also understand the Dhamma. There's the fourth person. This person, boys and girls, he would listen to the Dhamma. He loves to listen to Dhamma and he would listen to the Dhamma, but unfortunately, he only can remember the Dhamma. He cannot reflect on that. So therefore, he cannot realize this Dhamma. So this young monk thought, I've been trying for 3 months trying to develop concentration in this forest, but I can't do it. And he thought, and he was so disappointed. And he thought, I'm not that meritorious. I can't do this. I'm going to give up. I'm going to go back. Maybe I belong to this fourth person. So I'm going to go back to the village and, just try to live as good as I can. So thinking like this, so he left the forest. And boys and girls, this monk, he misunderstood everything that was preached by the Supreme Buddha. So what he did was he gave up all of his efforts, and then he started just engaging idle chatting, which means that he was, just talking with other monks, like wasting his time, talking things that is not related to Dhamma, right? And even sometimes we do that too, right? We just give up, like we try uh, uh, to develop skills once or twice, and then when things doesn't work out, you just give up, and then you just go to your computer and go to social media and do things to pass our times. So this monk did the same thing. He gave up all of a sudden, and then he just passed his time doing unnecessary things. But he was so lucky to be alive at the time of when the Supreme Buddha was still alive, and there were so many noble monks around him. And so these monks, boys and girls, they noticed this monk, like he has changed so much. So what they did was, out of kindness, so they approached this monk and asked him, Bhikkhu, friend, why are you just wasting your time talking, like unnecessary things? What happened to you? Why did you leave the forest? Why did you come back? Have you given up making efforts to understand the Dhamma? And boys and girls, so this bhikkhu answered, saying that yes, so he said the same story again. He said, like, okay, so there are 4 people according to what Supreme Buddha has preached. So I belong to the 4th person who can only memorize the Dhamma, who cannot understand anything, right? And then the bhikkhus were so shocked, and they said, oh, like, dear bhikkhu, don't say like this. Our teacher, the Supreme Buddha, made so much effort to understand, to realize these 4 noble truths. And then you are in this Supreme Buddha's dispensation. You have become a monk in this dispensation. Don't give up your efforts like this. You must come with us to go see the Supreme Buddha. So for this, the young bhikkhu's fortune, boys and girls, so he agreed. So everyone went to the Supreme Buddha. And then the monks who took this, the new monk, and said to Supreme Buddha, Bhante, this bhikkhu went to the forest and then he gave up. He's thinking like this. And so what can we do? So then the Supreme Buddha asked this monk, is that right? And the monk said, yes, Bhante, that's what I thought. That's why I left the forest. And then, boys and girls, out of so much compassion towards all beings, Supreme Buddha asked this monk, why do you think so? Why are you thinking like that? Do you think developing concentration is the only merit? So how about being content, living a content life? How about being diligent? How about making efforts? Aren't they merit? Don't you think you can gain so much merit by developing those qualities? And then the monk just stayed quiet. He didn't say anything because, boys and girls, some people think developing concentration is the only merit, but that's not true. According to the Supreme Buddha, we need to make so much effort, right? There are so many other qualities we need to develop in order to develop the concentration. So, and then Supreme Buddha said, dear monk, a very long time ago, you listened to my words, you took my instructions and was able to save 500 people in a deadly desert. How come you're giving up in this life when you have met the Supreme Buddha, when you have met the dispensation? And boys and girls, so the other bhikkhus that was sitting around the Supreme Buddha, in front of the Supreme Buddha, one of them stood up and then asked the Supreme Buddha, Bhante, can you please, we know this monk has given up all his efforts in this life as being met the Supreme Buddha, being met the dispensation, but we don't know the story about his previous life where he had saved 500 people. Bhante, out of compassion, please tell us the story. So the Supreme Buddha, out of compassion, started telling the story, boys and girls. So listen carefully, boys and girls. This story is very important to all of us because we can learn how we can develop so many good qualities by making little bit of efforts. So Supreme Buddha said, very, very long time ago, so Supreme Buddha was born into a merchant family, right? So one day, this merchant, the Bodhisattva, loaded all of his cars and started journeying into another city. So they were traders, right? They were bringing goods to different cities to sell them. So this day, so Supreme Buddha packed up, loaded up all of his goods for trading, and then started journeying. Boys and girls, just like the previous story, they again had to cross over a desert, a very, very long one. So it's about 600 kilometers, right? And then so they were heading to cross over the desert. So everyone was okay. So in this desert, when they're crossing the desert, boys, look at, because it's very hot in the daytime. So what they do is during the daytime they don't travel. They park their cars in one place and build a hut. You know, the huts that we put out in the summertime, so something like that. So they parked all the cars in a shape of a circle, and they put up a hut, and they rest there. They drink water, they bathe, and then they eat, and then they rest throughout the daytime. And then in the evening time only, when there's no sun, when it's not hot, they started to travel. They started to journey until the next day morning, right? So that's how they travel through the deserts. So these cartloads filled with goods, and these merchants, they were traveling like very comfortably because they had a very good strategy. So they had completed 590 kilometers. This was the last day before they crossed over the desert. So what happened was, so they during the daytime they ate, and like they were resting well, and then towards the evening time they thought, okay, so by tomorrow morning we will be where we want to be. So why not we travel comfortably? We don't need all these cartloads of water. So let's unload them, and then it's just one night. By tomorrow morning we will have plenty of food and water, right? So they thought, okay, we'll unload the water. So they did so. There was no food or no water for them. So towards the evening time, they started to travel. Boys and girls. So when these at that time, even today we have when we go to a place where we have not been before, we always use a tourist guide, right? So similarly, so when they at that time also, when you go on trading, especially when you're taking new routes, so there is a guide to tell us, okay, so go this way, go that way. And so this guy, because they've been traveling for so long, so this person, it was towards the night time too, so this person fell asleep. What happened, boys and girls? The guy who was supposed to show the roads, he fell asleep. And then what happened was that the bulls, they don't know how to read the stars in the sky. So they were traveling by them like on their own without guidance. And then they had turned around, they had made a U-turn and come back to where they were before in the day, where they had spent their daytime. So they had gone back again to where they started. Boys and girls, when the guide woke up from his sleep, he was so shocked to see that we had come back. And so what to do, right? In the middle of the desert, it's the daytime, it's so hot, and these people had no water, nothing to eat. They were so desperate and they was very upset. But for their fortune, there was the leader. Who is the leader? The Bodhisattva merchant, right? The wisest of all, even as a Bodhisattva. So Bodhisattva did not blame anyone, did not ask anyone, why did you sleep, anything like that. So he was very wise, and he was very calm. He stayed calm, and then he got off from his cart, and then started to walk around to see if he can find a tiny bit of a sign of water. Right? When he was searching around, boys and girls, he saw this small grass, a bunch of grass growing in the desert. So he thought, so I see some grass sprouting out. So which means there must be some water lying underneath the grounds, right? Thinking this way, he called all of his merchants to come, like bring all the tools to dig the ground. And then they all brought whatever the tools they could find in their carts. And then they started to dig the ground. So remember, they were in the middle of a desert and it was so hot. So they started to dig the grounds, right? So, and they dug and they dug. And then boys and girls, like after a while, they dug so much. But you know what happened? There was a rock under that hole. Like at the bottom of that hole, they found a huge rock. And they were very upset. So how can we break this rock now, right? Because they were already exhausted by digging the hole without a drop of water. And they just, throw all the tools, and they, came out of the hole. So they were all lying down and saying, oh no, we are destroyed now. We have no water, and now we have this big rock. How can we find water? There's no way. We are going to die. So like saying such things, they were weeping because they were so scared, right? But then what happened? Supreme Buddha, the Bodhisattva merchant, so he got down into the hole. He kept his ear to the rock to listen. Sometimes like you can do that too. Sometimes like when you go to caves and stuff, when you keep your ear, you can hear if there's any other sounds, if it's so quiet. So Supreme Buddha, the wisest among the all, so he did the same thing. So he kept his ear onto the rock and listened carefully. And then the Bodhisattva heard, like a small sound coming, like of water coming through the rock. So then the Bodhisattva merchant called out, where is that young boy who was traveling with us? Come forward, bring a big hammer. And then the boy came, and then the Bodhisattva merchant told the boy to get down to the hole and start to try to break that stone. And before that, Bodhisattva said to this boy, you are our only savior. Everyone else has given up. So it's only you can save us now. Try hard. Make so much effort to help all of us. You can save all of us if you put some effort. So after hearing this, the boy was so encouraged. So he went down to the hole, and then he started hammering, hitting hard to the rock, boys and girls. So one chip at a time, the rock started to break, and then the Bodhisattva merchant said, come on, boy, come on. So he was cheering up this boy, telling him to make hit harder, right? So this boy, he was so strengthened up, and then he hit even harder. And boys and girls, so eventually the rock split open, and there was water started to gush out from the hole. And the people were so happy, and they all were dancing, singing. So they drank enough water, they fed the bulls. Everyone's so happy, and they appreciated this boy so much for saving them. Otherwise, all of them would have been dead in the midst of a desert, right? Because without water, you can travel, especially during the daytime, right? So everyone was happy. So after telling this story, boys and girls, Supreme Buddha asked this monk, so Bhikkhu, At that time, you listened to my words and made so much effort to find a bit of water to save those people. But now, having met the dispensation, having met the Supreme Buddha, having met the Dhamma, how come you're giving up? Why are you giving up? Why are you not making any efforts to understand this Dhamma? Don't think you are that fourth person who can only memorize this Dhamma. Don't think you cannot understand Dhamma. You need to make efforts, right? So Supreme Buddha advised this monk, and so this monk, he was sitting down in front of the Supreme Buddha, and then he stood up like a thoroughbred that was whipped by its master. So he stood up and he worshipped the Supreme Buddha. And then he took off to go meditate, to practice the Dhamma. And boys and girls, this monk practiced the Dhamma, made so much effort to understand this Dhamma, and within a very short time, this bhikkhu, this monk, was able to realize the Four Noble Truths. See, boys and girls, how lucky that monk was, right? So he had met the Supreme Buddha in a previous life and got the opportunity to associate the Supreme Buddha in a Bodhisattva life, and he was able to save so many people. Even in this life, he was able to, he was very fortunate to meet the Supreme Buddha and to listen to the Dhamma and then realize the Four Noble Truths and escape from the samsara. Boys and girls, so see, a tiny bit of advice we take from our teachers, such as the Supreme Buddha. See how much it helps us to develop our qualities, and see how much it helps us to lead a very successful life. So boys and girls, that's why we need to listen and learn the teaching of the Supreme Buddha. We have a great teacher who loves us so much, who's very compassionate and who's very kind. So let's all of us develop a pleasant mind towards the Supreme Buddha and try our best to make an effort, make great efforts in fact, to understand this Dhamma. So at the same time, boys and girls, see how many of us, even when your exams at school, see how many of us give up so easily, right? So when you get a little bit of lower marks for your exams, the next time you're like, oh, I'm not good at math. I can't do math. I can understand math. I'm not good at science. It's not for me. So we used to say those things, right? Like even when I was young, I did the same thing. So boys and girls, remember, when you give up, when you don't make effort, you can lead a successful life. But if you try hard, a little bit of effort, if you make the tiny bit of effort, you can gain great successes into your life. And at the end of the story, my teacher has written a very small note for all of us. It will be a good lesson to all of us. It'll help us to understand what happens to each of us when we don't make efforts. Boys and girls, my teacher says that we always wait for something to happen miraculously, right? So we just blame when those things don't happen. But instead, we should make efforts. If you make effort to develop our values, that will help the people around us. And if all of that, yourself and the people around us, if all of us together makes an effort, it will help our communities, right? And when the people in the community makes efforts, it will help our whole country to develop. So boys and girls, see, you need to start with you to make small efforts, and then you can develop not only yourself, you can develop the whole world. Thank you for joining us, boys and girls. I'll see you soon. Peruan Saranai. Namo Buddhaya.